You're listening to Atlanta Baseball Talk, your weekly podcast for all things Atlanta Braves.
Welcome to show number 321. Today is Sunday, November 15th, 2015, and my name is Steve. I'm joined by both Hammy and Kurt tonight, and guys, in tonight's show, we'll discuss trade rumors around Freeman and Tehran, re-signing AJ, and what to do next with Mike Minor. But first, guys, and actually before we talk about the Simmons trade, a big shout out to listener Tim Bostic, who hit us up on Twitter tonight asking about when the show would be posted because he's at the hospital waiting on the birth of his first child but didn't want to miss the show.
Oh, wow.
So, best fan of the week.
Yes,
sure.
Absolutely. I wonder if it would be Kurt, Hammy, or Steve, the name of his child.
It's Kurt with a C.
So, Tim, really, congratulations to you. I hope everyone is happy and healthy. It's awesome.
Chamalive.
Yeah, Chamalive. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful name.
It rolls off the tongue.
So, guys, in a long line of painful trades and departures over the past 12 plus months, this one was by far, for me, the toughest as a fan. So The Braves traded Simba to the Angels for shortstop Eric Ibar and pitching prospects Sean Newcomb and Chris Ellis. So, Ham, let's start with the positive side of this. Tell us why this was a good move for the Braves.
All right, I will. And we talked about me taking this just for the sake of argument. And so I'm doing this just for the sake of the argument. Please don't send me a bunch of hate emails or tweets. And Tim, I realize now that you probably won't name your kid after me, but that's fine. The bottom line is at this moment, Simmons has the highest trade potential he's going to have, right? And I would say he's the second highest trade chip in the Braves on the Braves system right now. And so
next to Freeman, you mean?
Next to Freeman, yep. And so you take emotion out of the equation. The truth is that the Braves, they need volume of talent over just particular singular value of talent. They need to take a player that's got high value and turn him into multiple assets of equal or lower, known value, higher potential value. And for Simmons right now, he's pretty valuable. He's under contract until 2020 at an average of around, $8 or $9 million a year. He's one of the best defenders in baseball for the past 3 years. He's only 26. And there's reason to believe, and there was a great article on from Peter Gammons that with a few tweaks to his toe touches at the plate, that his offense could go up, that he could actually, if he could elevate the ball more, not hit so many ground balls, that actually he would hit for a higher average and maybe get a little bit more power.
Okay, wait, Hammy, are you saying why this was a good trade or a bad trade?
No. So this is why this is why he's valuable. This is why he's valuable, right?
Yeah,
he's valuable to the Braves, but valuable to another team.
You can also use these for why it's a bad trade, by the way.
No, I can, but so let's turn this. So as time moves on, he has less years on his contract. He's under contract less years. He might actually get worse at the plate, and there's nowhere really for him to go but down defensively, right? So right now, I think he is as valuable as he gets. And if you are in a mindset of volume over value, you move him and you try to get as much as you can. And you also have Albies in the wings, who is obviously a few years away, but has the potential to have more offense. So I feel like you have to trade him now. You're not. Why hold on to Simmons if you're taking the long view here? In doing so, we got a shortstop who is, if you look at Baseball Reference, is projected to have a better year at the plate than Simmons was. Comparable power, slightly better average, more speed, more stolen bases. We also get one of the 20 best prospects in baseball and one of the best Angels, the best prospect in the Angels system, although, Kurt, I know you're going to say it's not a very good system. And we also have a potential great bullpen arm in Ellis. So we got more back. I think we got a lot of value back, and people are saying they wanted, even, some of the national media guys are saying they wanted a bigger haul from Simmons, but I think his offense really held him back in getting the true haul. I think we got a good deal. And I think we have, a top-of-the-line rotation guy now in Newcomb. We have the potential to have the Mets type of rotation in a couple of years, and we just saw how that played out. So I think if you are truly giving up on this sort of retooling and fully going into the rebuild, you have to trade Simmons now because he's as valuable as you have him as a trade prospect.
So, Ham, let me ask you a question. I know you sort of raised your hand and took this assignment.
Yep.
With all...
Yeah. Do you believe anything you just said?
Well, yeah. I mean, I want to ask that question a little differently. Like, with all the moves the Braves make, I'm a fan and I want to like them. And, the trade happens and then you start reading a bunch of articles and you see both sides. And at least for me personally, I start to talk myself into it. Mm-hmm. Like all the stuff that happened over the last 12 months. Did reading up on this and putting your thoughts together and everything, did it help you sort of, come over to the side of liking the trade?
A little bit, not all the way. I mean, I don't fully buy all that. And I was going to ask you guys, like, for some reason, this one hurt more than Kimbrel, more than Hayward. I don't know why. And Stevie, that was your first line of the show. I mean, why does this hurt more than those trades? I mean, I think if you can get purely clinical and purely look at the long term, it's a move that has merit, right? It may not play out, and we may, in hindsight, look at this and be like, it was nonsense. But I think clinically, you can defend this move, right? But it hurt. It sucked. I don't know why it did more than those other ones, but from emotional level, it really signals to me you are not going to recognize anybody. You're going to have to start being a Braves fan completely from scratch again, right? You're just cheering for the laundry. Mm-hmm. There's no guys that you're going to have any attachment to when these guys are good again.
Yeah, so to me, Ham, I mean, to answer that question, even with Hayward, right, who I think is 1A in the most painful trades, mm-hmm. I could look at him and say, inconsistent offense, on top of the fact that he was going to be a free agent and there was no way they were going to afford him, or it would be some scary money to invest in him, given his injuries, given his ability to stay on the field, and given his offense, right?
Yeah.
But with Simmons, not only was he under contract affordably through 2020, the guy was a once-in-a-generation talent.
At one part of his game. He was below average at the plate.
Okay, below average at the plate. Slightly below average for a shortstop. In terms of batting average.
Which makes him below average at most positions.
Yeah. Right? I mean, in 2015, he was third in batting average for National League shortstops, second in on base. Now, when you look at his OPS, he was, second or third from the bottom because he hits for no power. Mm-hmm. But to me, this was the most painful because as the numbers continued to dwindle, he was one of the few Braves. He was a Brave. He was a favorite player of mine on top of being a once-in-a-generation talent.
Yeah.
I don't know how to get past that part.
I'm with you in a lot of ways. I'm with you. I mean, I guess you have to, yeah. You're right. I mean, I think it hurts. At the end of the day, I don't know if I love this trade.
Curtis, why don't you start on the other side of the coin? Why was this a bad move?
Well, I mean, basically a lot of the reasons that you just talked about. I think that at some point you have to stop this exercise. There has to come a point where you have to have players that are known commodities instead of unknown commodities. And we keep trading away talent that is known, whether he didn't hit as much as we wanted him to, or didn't hit for as much power as we want. Who says he has to hit for those things? I mean, we are assigning these things because of what? He's not going to be A-Rod as a shortstop. He's not going to be Derek Jeter. That's
or
not who he is.
Yeah, it's not.
He is a defensive first player. There's a guy that went into the Hall of Fame who batted .262, .337, .328 for his career. He hit 24 home runs his entire 19-year career. His name is Ozzie Smith. Okay? You don't have to be an offensive juggernaut to play shortstop. Sometimes those things are made up in other parts of your lineup. We shouldn't have to have him hitting 15 home runs and be an offensive churner. He is a defensive churner. He is saving us runs. So that's where it offsets each other. So
even on a team that has nothing around them?
That's their problem. Okay? Once you start to build this team, you're never going to replace this man's defense. You're never going to replace Jason Hayward's defense either. But that, like Steve said, that's much more defensible because of the money you were going to have to commit to. So, I mean, Albies, we have no idea what Albies is going to do. Just because he hits well at low A, double A, I mean, he's 5'7". He's not going to come up here and start hitting 35 home runs for us.
He's not a power guy.
That position is not going to be filled by him either. And we have no idea what sort of defense he can play. Certainly it's not going to be on the level of Andrelton Simmons because no one is on the level of Andrelton Simmons.
Well, Kurt, that's the thing. Like, at some point, the rebuilding starts, right? We just continue to be in the teardown phase. and there's just more and more tearing down happening. But at some point, you're going to start rebuilding. And I don't know how, with this once-in-a-generation talent who's under control till 2020, how he shouldn't be part of that foundation. You're right. It's the front office's problem to put offense around a once-in-a-generation defender. Because in the most important infield position, where defense is paramount, where you have a guy not only with his cannon arm and all that, but one of the highest baseball IQs I've ever seen. My God, he knows where everybody is and 3 moves ahead, and he's juking everybody and, deking everybody to throw guys. I mean, just all of what he does. How is he not a perfect foundational piece to build around? I really don't get it.
Behind an insanely young pitching staff.
Right, who desperately needs that kind of defense.
Right, and so what you're doing is you're putting out a defense now that is going to be atrocious on top of everything else,
Ibar's won a gold.
Ibar's not a travesty defensively, but
he's not in Simmons. I'm not saying he's Simmons, but he's not.
Oliveira's awful.
No, but not in left, dude. He's going to be amazing in left.
I mean, you have pieces everywhere. You have to have some defensive stops somewhere,
Right.
It's this one. It's not that it hurt the most. It pissed me off the most. And maybe those are parsing hairs, but I can't. And I know we're going to get to this, but we might as well get to this now. I'm sorry, I'm totally jumping the gun because this pissed me off more than anything. For Coppolella to come out and say that the Braves are going to be a better team in 2016 because we have Eric Ibar playing shortstop for us rather than Andrelton Simmons is one of the most insulting things I've ever seen said by an executive of any team that I've followed in a long time, ever. I mean, it is a joke. Do you think that the fans of the Anaheim Angels are thinking, my God, we're going to be so much worse next year because we have Andrelton Simmons instead of Eric Ibar?
Well, no.
No, and they couldn't because it's a lie. And that is exactly what Coppolella said.
And we know we really get nothing but front office speak from this front office.
And it's despicable.
All the way back to we're not moving Kimbrel. We're not, all that stuff. I mean, it has been front office speak for a long time. Another example of it, Kurt, was Copy came out. Well, actually, let me back up. When Jonah Carey broke this, whatever night it was, I don't remember, Tuesday night or Wednesday night, whatever, last week. And the 3 of us started texting back and forth. And basically we're all like, dear God, if they do this, it had better be an overwhelming haul that we get for Simmons. And Copy came out after the trade was done. He said, quote, "This was such a good opportunity. We wanted to seize it when we had the chance." Like, I get that Newcomb is a top 20 prospect in all of baseball, but given the once-in-a-generation talent that Simmons is, was this really such a great opportunity that we couldn't pass it up? I find that hard to swallow.
He has to win Cy Youngs. He has to be transformative.
Yeah, he has to be DeGrom and Syndergaard,
Absolutely. And there is no other option for that. And it's the same way that Oliveira has to come out and hit 335 next year and bat and hit 35 home runs. These guys have to start producing for us to be giving up what we're getting to get these guys back. They have to hit on these people. You know, it is unfair to the Braves fans for them to continue to dump this talent for these unknown, again, prospects. We can talk about how great our farm system is right now and how we have all these pitching prospects and things like that. I'm beyond caring about that. I follow the Atlanta Braves. I think it's great that the Rome Braves will have the best rotation in Double-A next year.
Well,
that does nothing.
They're not unrelated, but
it's not unrelated. You can't.
I understand,
those.
but what happens in Rome is unrelated to what happens in Atlanta, because we have no idea if those guys are ever going to make it here or if they're going to be even able to pitch on this level.
That's the
move
they have to
but they
make.
turn into guys if they don't.
I know.
But without
again,
it,
we're giving up
known.
We're giving up known commodities and continuing to do it. And was there not anybody out there that could have traded us some bats for Simmons?
Well, so Copy came out and said, this isn't a quote, but this is close to it. There wasn't a big impact bat out on the trade market. They said the teams were reluctant to move those hitters, which really brings into question, hey, we're going to turn these arms into some bats.
Right.
But
that's not the plan. I mean, they have no plan.
Well,
right? I think they're still in teardown mode.
But that's the thing, Hammy. I think that there's got to be a plan. Like Capalella and Hart and Scherholtz have to have a roadmap in place that says we're going to try to get rid of these guys and we're going to field this kind of talent, and this is a graph of our projected budget those years, and we're going to try to fill these spaces through trades or through free. They need to share that with the fans.
They're never
right
going
now. No, I know they never will. But right now, it just seems like there's no plan, and they don't quite know what they're doing.
I think their plan is they believe, and I mean, not to defend it, but they believe that, why have Simmons on a team with no talent around him when he's really giving us no value? The value for them is winning games. Again, this is not my point of view. And they're like, we need to get a bunch of assets, and we're going to go out to the market and get the best asset we can, regardless of position. We're going to get, and right now, pitchers are the highest, most valuable assets, and obviously pretty available. And so they said, we're going to turn what we have now, $1 into 4 quarters.
No, I totally get it. But I get back to the point of the rebuild starts at some point, and how do you not keep him as the foundation to the house? I just don't understand it.
And
I really don't.
And it's not 4 years away. This is
except it's getting farther and farther away is the thing.
It's not even that it's 4 years away. This is 7 years away. I mean,
it's more.
I think they're looking at the Cubs and the Mets. It's more
like 2019. We're really looking at like 2019.
Yeah.
So another lie.
Well,
I think that they've stopped that lie. I think that by all their actions, and we're going to get into it.
You want me to read you some quotes from Terry McGurk about how they are we will start seeing major jumps in their payroll by January 1st, 2017. I mean,
well, hopefully that's true. I mean, the thing is that I really don't trust anything that comes out of the front office anymore.
Right.
I have no idea anymore what this team is going to look like opening day next year.
But if it is true, why not have some pieces already in place that you don't have to go out and spend money on? You cannot trade all these pitching prospects for enough pieces to fill a major league roster right now and keep any of them in-house. I mean, you had position players that were there to take some of these jobs. Now you have to go and fill all of these jobs. And I mean, again, we don't know what's coming with Albies. We don't know what's coming with Rio Ruiz. We're just going to hope that these guys hit. And that's what the Braves are doing. They've just got their fingers crossed. Just like George Lombard became the next Dale Murphy for us, I mean,
But that's what they're hoping.
Yeah, of course that's what they're hoping.
But that's what they have to,
you can't sell
though.
that to us anymore. You have to have some people that are on the field
Kurt,
for this
you can't
team.
have it both ways. That's a gamble.
You can have it
Baseball's a
both
gamble.
ways. You allowed yourself to get in a situation with a farm system that was so awful that you had to do this. And they are dumping salary. They're dumping salary. It's nothing more than them dumping salary and creating this insanely cheap team.
That's not true.
Well, Kurt, we don't know that yet. I mean, clearly they are dumping salary to give themselves flexibility. The question is, how much do they spend? I mean, if the team looks and feels this way come spring training, then yes, it is. We have become the Marlins in the teardown years when they spend $60 million.
Well, that's what it's going to be. I mean, to your point, this team is not going to be recognizable opening day, and we're not going to have an all-star on the roster.
And they're going to be worse. I mean, they're not going to be any better next year. They're going to be terrible. And they don't even, it's beyond them seemingly even caring about the fact of what kind of product they're putting.
Well, and
next year
it brings into question all the quotes at the end of the year is, we will not do this again to the fans. We will not be as bad again. But it kind of looks like they're really just trying to get the number one pick again already.
Yeah, that was a lie. They're doing it.
All this stuff coming out from Ken Rosenthal, which I know we'll touch on some more. I won't get into all the details. Another official asserts that the Braves are shopping everyone owed money. That only people the Braves are talking to are a number of non-compensation free agents, including some veteran relievers. So, like you said, it's going to be the Marlins. It's going to be a bunch of young players that, you have no idea what you're going to get. You hope they get a little better, but frankly, they're being fielded out to determine if they're part of a long-term plan, and a bunch of guys who are on their last legs of their career.
But it's all in their eyes for a foundation of success in the future. To have an Anthony Rizzo and a Chris Bryant and good pitching, Jake Arrieta.
But we don't have any of that. We don't have any of those.
We don't know
bats.
that. It's too
We don't have any
early.
of those bats in our system right now.
Well, I mean, that's what I think they're hoping to get.
They're hoping that Albies becomes a real bat, and Malik
I think they're not
Smith
done.
is a real bat. Yeah, well, that's the thing. They're not done. I mean, in fairness, we have no idea what things look like by opening day next year, let alone 17 and 18.
Yeah. What scares me is I don't feel like they have a ton of leverage. I think that they have showed their cards, they know their strategy, and so they're not getting the best deal they can because everybody knows what they're up to. I think if they go out and shop at Freeman or Tehran, that they're not going to get the deal that they could have because they have no leverage.
Yeah, and my fear is that, one of the many sort of emotions I came away with from the Simmons move was that I felt kind of cheated because it felt unnecessary. I guess I've been saying that, but it kind of felt like Copy got caught up in the love of the action. He was starting the hot stove off with a bang, and he had this shiny trade piece, and by God, he was going to trade him and get something. I mean, it felt like they didn't hold out for enough, or they did it too fast, all that stuff. I want there to be a plan. I really hope that there is that roadmap, sitting in the front office, and they really know what they're doing, because right now, my faith is shaken. All right, guys, let's stay on the Simmons topic and play a little fair or foul, where I throw something out there, you agree with it fair or disagree with it foul. So we touched on this already a little bit, Kurt, but we'll get into it a little bit more. So Copy said the Braves are no worse as a team in 2016 with Ibar at short versus Simmons.
So what's the truth, though? Sorry, Steve. Did he say that they're better or no worse? Those are two different things. What's the quote? Do you know?
I think it was no worse.
Okay. Because that's a little bit. I mean, it's slightly.
To say
I know
they're
it's
better.
parsing hairs. Yeah, to say they're better is who is he kidding? But But anyway, so I think it's foul. I think that if all the other pieces stay in place next season. That the Braves are a worse team with Ibar than Simmons, but I'm going to be honest. I don't think it's by much, right? I mean, I talked about Ibar's projections offensively, and But it's a downgrade in the field. And Kurt, like you said, we have so much young pitching. We're going to need the defensive. We're going to need the help defensively. But we're going to be bad. And I don't think we're going to be much worse with Ibar than Simmons. 2 games, maybe.
Curtis, fair or foul?
I mean, he said here, I'm looking at the quote.
Okay, what was the quote?
The answer. I would just say this. You can make an argument that we are actually a team that can win more games with Ibar.
Yeah, I mean, not according to WAR. Not according to WAR rating. Not according to runs saved. And again, not according to the, half to 1 point ERA that all the rookies starting pitchers are going to jump up. Yeah, I think it's insane to look at whatever the difference in average. I don't have Ibar's numbers in front of me.
I mean, I wrote all this down. You can go across the board. The suggestion that Ibar is some dramatically better offensive player than Andrelton Simmons is a joke.
No, it's not.
It is minuscule. It is razor thin. 265 Simmons, 270 Ibar, 265, 321, 338 for Simmons, 270, 301, 338 for Ibar. Ibar struck out more. He didn't walk as many times. He scored a few more runs. Of course, he's on a much better offensive team. He had a few more hits, a few more doubles, fewer triples, fewer home runs. I mean, but it's 15 stolen bases to 5 stolen bases. It wasn't like he stole 40. His OPS is only slightly higher than Simmons. I mean, they had the exact same number of RBI. They're offensively a wash, frankly. And Ibar's trending down. His numbers are going down offensively. I mean, he's not an impressive offensive player. So whatever that line is, it's a joke.
All right, so let's stay with Ibar, Kurt. Fair or foul? Ibar gets traded, because no one stays here for that long, gets traded before opening day.
I think I'm going to say foul just because I don't think that they have anybody else that can play shortstop for them. But I think if they get Capolello said that he had already gotten 3 calls from teams looking for a shortstop. But he also, in this same conversation, is talking about, that they might want to sign him to a long-term deal and that it hurts them in 2017 and 2018 if he leaves after this year, which is just silly talk. But I'm going to say foul just because I don't think they have any other options. And they got the money from the Angels to offset the difference in payroll.
Yeah, I think that if they get offered a decent reliever, that they would trade Ibar. I really do. I just think that there's no one is off limits now, even the new guys. Hammy, what about you?
Yeah, but I think foul. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but unless he's packaged with someone else, I don't think he has a ton of value. It's the last year of his contract. Unless he's thrown into another deal, I think he's here.
All right, so guys, staying on sort of the same topic of more trades and more teardowns, Ken Rosenthal reported today, Sunday, that he spoke to 3 team officials from 3 different clubs who said that the Braves are shopping Freddie Freeman, Julio Teheran, as well as Markakis and Maben. Hammy, to your point about anyone that's owed money. So, Kurt, yeah. Sorry, Kurt. Yeah, I mix you guys up all the time.
Yeah, I do too.
So, folks started hitting DOB on Twitter with questions about it. DOB tweeted back out that he asked Copy point blank late this afternoon about Freeman, and Capolella said they are not shopping him. So obviously I don't believe that anymore.
I don't believe
Why
the
would
word
these
he
3
says.
guys? I mean, in reading the notes from Rosenthal, he talked about it was one of the biggest topics at the AFL. So, Rosenthal raised a pretty good point about the front office losing credibility with future attempts to lock up young talent and buy out arbitration years. They get rid of Kimbrel. They got rid of Simmons. If they really get rid of one or both of Teheran and Freeman, why do you give them a discount to buy out arbitration years? All this young talent that we've got, those discussions will start after they get here and prove themselves. Why do you do it? How do you trust this front office now?
How does anyone trust them? Who does trust them? Even as a fan, It's.
I mean, Daniel Castro is going to be playing like 4 positions next year. That's really what we're looking at.
Yeah.
And not for Gwinnett.
Right. All right, so guys, those big 4, let's talk about what we think is going to happen with them. Hammy, fair or foul? Tehran is a Brave on opening day.
Foul. I think teams need pitching. Red Sox need pitching. They just got Kimbrel. I bet we flip him for players that will not play for us next year.
Curtis, Tehran a Brave?
Foul.
Opening day?
Yeah, same. I think they're done. I think they're getting rid of everybody.
Well, I agree that they're going to get rid of Tehran, which I also don't think makes a lot of sense. I also think he's a guy that you build around. He's young. He's affordable. He has shown absolute brilliance at times. Makes zero sense to me to get rid of him. All right, Curtis, I guess here's the big one. I should save this for last, but Freddie Freeman is a Brave on opening day. Fair or foul?
I'm going to go foul. I think that there's reports that have come out, and honestly, we talked about it. Maybe it was we just touched on it, and it was sort of a joke that next up was Freeman. But I think with his massive contract, that they look to get rid of him, and they trade him for whatever they can. You talk about the big remaining commodity on the Braves roster, and it's Freddie Freeman. I mean, even in an injury-plagued year, he is still pretty great. So I think he is next on the list to get shipped out.
So the one and only fathead, those gigantic wall stickers that my oldest has is a Freddie Freeman fathead. He got it a couple years ago. And when this news broke today, he's like, I will tear that off the wall and bury it in the backyard if the Braves trade Freddie Freeman.
Well, he should just get one of copy and do that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, the copy fathead is so expensive on eBay though. Hammy, what do you think?
I'm with Curtis, and I hate it. I mean, at this point, you have to, right? Like, why go halfway in? At this point, you're tearing down the team. Why? I hate it for Freddie. I almost want him to be on a team where he can do well, and it's not going to be on the Braves for any time soon. We just have got to get a deal where we feel good about it. And I feel like we've lost our leverage. I feel like we're not going to get the haul. I feel like we're going to get a bunch of unknown talent. But I feel like it's going to happen.
So I feel like an idiot for saying it, but I feel like the front office has got to build around something other than Shelby Miller. And that's something.
AJ.
Yeah. See, that's why they don't want to release the roadmap.
Right.
Because they're going to sign AJ to a 3-year extension before spring training. And that Freddie will be that foundation. So I'm going to say foul on that.
Fair.
I'm going to say fair that he is
a Brave.
He is a Brave. All right, Ham, Mabin is a Brave on opening day. Fair or foul?
Fair, but only because I don't think there's a ton of value for him. I don't know what we would get for him. And so I don't think it's because we're going to build around Mabin. I think he had a bad second half. I think he sort of regressed to the mean for what his ceiling is. And I think he's a Brave just because he's got nowhere better to go.
Curtis?
I'm going to go foul on him too. It just seems like they are willing to even take low-level pitching prospects for guys. I mean, we saw it with Uribe and Kelly Johnson. Not that they're top-notch talent, but I mean, how much more top-notch are they than Mabin? I guess Mabin is younger, but yeah. I mean, I say it again. I think they dump anybody and everybody that they possibly can that really has a substantial paycheck coming to them.
Yeah, I mean, Ham, I agree that Mabin does not have a ton of value, but compared to Bourne and Swisher, he has the most value. So I think they will move him right, even if it's pennies on the dollar. I think that Mabin is the outfielder that they move.
So our outfield next year is going to be, I guess Oliveira's there. Is it going to be Bourne, Markakis? Well, no, Markakis is probably gone too, huh?
Well, let's talk about that. Curtis, is
so
Markakis
bad,
a Brave opening day? Fair or foul?
Foul again. Reading all the Orioles would like nothing more than to have a reunion back with Markakis. That move has been a big question mark the whole time as to why they actually did that move, and to be able to rectify that move and to get out from under the money that they owe him. I can't imagine that if they had the opportunity that they wouldn't dump him as quickly as possible. So
it's a very good point, Kurt, that it didn't make sense back then last year. It was the oddball move compared to everything else, but it's even more odd now, giving this total fire sale. So I agree with you. I think he's gone as well, Hammy.
Yeah. I'm just like, I'm sitting there trying to put up the lineup card in my head as we do this, as they just sort of keep falling off. It's like Big Brother, the show Big Brother, where the faces disappear after you get voted off. And so it's Mark.
Lots of Castro, lots of Siriaco, man.
No, I think they'll bring in people like Casey McGee and people like that they can pay, $600, $800, $1 million to, and just fill out a bunch of spots like that are around Jace Peterson and Oliveira and people like that are already in place. I think Bourne. Well, they don't want to. I mean, there's no way that they're going to let Bourne and Swisher reach those.
Right, because and especially for center field. I mean, sooner than later in 2016 they'll bring in Malik Smith to at least platoon with Bourne. All right, so let's move on to a couple last pieces of business, and let's talk about some of the exciting signings that are going on. So the Braves signed A.J. Pierzynski back at a 1-year deal. He turned down more money in years to come back to the Braves, which is kind of cool.
And which he's regretting.
So, Ham, will there be a backup catcher signed? Like, they're not really thinking AJ is our most, almost everyday catcher, are they?
No.
I guess I'm leading the witness. Sorry.
Your Honor. I mean, is it? And now I didn't. It's either like Lavarnway or Betancourt. They're not going to spend any money on it.
Well, Lavarnway's gone. So, yeah. I mean, on the 40-man today, the only catchers are AJ and Betancourt.
Yeah, he's coming. It's Betancourt. I mean, they're treading water. I wouldn't be surprised if AJ's gone after this deal to some team. I don't know.
Way.
Who knows?
There's no way that they would do that to that guy.
Really? I'm with you. But no, I think it's going to be like last year. I think we're going to pick up some league minimum catcher like Lavarnway, maybe get Betancourt shots here and there. I mean, it's not like we're trying to win games.
There's no talk of trying to move Betancourt, but they are desperately trying to move Betancourt, don't you think?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But nobody's taking him. Right.
But if he's still here, I would assume he'll be the backup catcher, and you see if he maybe just needs more time. And he really had, he really got scared straight with what went on in 2015. He turns around his attitude and preparation and all that jazz. And maybe he becomes what they thought he was, or he at least builds his trade value and they can get something for him in a year.
And frankly, as far as this team is shaping up to be, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he can be awful, and no one's going to be watching this team.
And it's not going to keep them from running him out there.
Yeah. I mean,
right. Well,
it'll be the softest place that he could ever try once again to figure himself out as a Major League Baseball player. So
yeah. All right, so Curtis, Mike Minor's recovery from shoulder surgery is going more slowly than anticipated, and the December 2nd tender date is approaching. So, there had been a lot of talk the last month or two that the Braves were really interested in re-signing him. They were thinking if he agreed to sign for less than, his arbitration rate, they'd really, be up for it. But I think the assumption was they'd be able to see him throw off a mound before that December 2nd date. That will not be happening now. So should the Braves sign him to, let's call it, a $4 to $5 million deal next year?
I don't know that that's going to happen, and I don't know that should happen. You have no idea what you're going to get from him, and so to throw $4 or $5 million his way seems kind of like a waste of money.
Yeah, and it seems counter to all their other plans of saving money, right? I mean, I don't understand why they would do that either.
I haven't understood it since they started talking about it a couple months ago, just given his injury history. I mean, you remember that he came back at the start of 2015 and felt great, haven't felt better. Injury stuff's behind me. And obviously he had a ton of time off because it had been the off season. And then, he didn't make it through spring training. So to trust anything about his health just seems ludicrous. Especially when we can spend a couple $1 million on Bartolo Colon next year.
Well, I thought who did they just sign? They just signed somebody. I'm trying to find it. They signed somebody just recently that was one of these scrap heap guys that, has pitched for 47 different teams and has a, career ERA of 4.27 or something. I mean,
that the Braves
Hernandez?
Yeah. They just signed somebody, and I can't, it's not showing up in transactions, but I know they did. I'm not making it up.
Wow, I missed that. I hope he's good.
Yes,
we have a lot of games to win next year,
or lose, however you want.
You hope it's Levon Hernandez.
I really do.
Dessens?
No.
Edwin Jackson?
Yes.
That's what's coming up. That's the last one. Volstad.
Yes. That's
Chris
it.
Volstad. Yeah.
Chris Volstad.
Really?
There's your fifth starter right there.
There's our okay. Well, that's exciting.
And
all right,
by exciting, you mean not exciting?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
I'm going to go out on a limb, really not that far of a limb, really more of a twig kind of thing. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to a Braves game next year.
Oh,
right now,
come on.
Early bet. Right now, how many games do the Braves win next season?
Oh, wait, they won 67. Is that right?
They'll lose 100 games next year.
I bet they don't. I bet they lose. I bet they win less than 60.
Ooh, that's historic, though.
I bet they win. Yeah, I bet they win 61.
Oh. So I have to say, Steve, that the Simmons thing, that trade has dropped you because whenever that last show was, you were convinced that they were going to win 10 more games than they did this year.
Right, because I was convinced that they were going to keep who they had and they were really going to, get something good at third and really sign a bat for catcher and, make some moves.
And then you realize Liberty Media really doesn't care and just wants to make money off of
margin. They're like, wow, look at that. This was a profitable year last year.
Hey, look at that. And our team was terrible, and we still made money. I think we're on to something here.
Hey, let's sell Brave stock. For those that didn't see that, they're going to sell Brave stock.
Just to try and earn back the money we had to dump into that 365 complex you guys are going to be going to all year to soak up all the Bravesdom.
I liked the season ticket package they were trying to sell where you got a commemorative patch for Turner Field.
Yes.
Which the players are wearing next year as well.
Yeah. Oh, well, that makes it more valuable.
Yeah, well, exactly. All right, folks, we will be back throughout the offseason as developments occur.
It's good. It feels like it's going to be sooner and later. And
no kidding.
Could possibly be a more negative show than this one was.
It's funny. Well, watch out for the Freeman show.
I'm gonna be sick on that show.
When we signed off last week, we said, well, if we don't do a show before Thanksgiving, before the end of the month, have a great Thanksgiving. I feel like we're going to have another one before Thanksgiving.
Yes, have a good week.
Yeah, have a good couple of days.
Exactly. All right, folks, that's the show. Please make sure you have us in your RSS feeds or subscriptions on iTunes or Stitcher so that you don't miss any of our weekly shows. As always, check us out at AtlantaBaseballTalk.com for past shows, to check out our blogs, and to post in our comments section. And be sure to follow us on Twitter at ATL Baseball Talk and to like us on Facebook. Thanks again for listening, everyone, and go Braves!
Thanks for listening to Atlanta Baseball Talk, your weekly podcast for all things Atlanta Braves. To find new shows, to post in our forum, or to send a comment, please visit us at AtlantaBaseballTalk.com.